guys, today I want to talk about why I think it's important for everybody to once in a while take a step back from social media and what it did for my mental health and what I think it could do for yours. And it's funny, if you're not watching my video on YouTube, I am wearing a shirt that says "Do It For You." And it's just so funny because I'm explaining why, you should do this for you. Like, taking a step back from social media is going to be great for your mental health. So I didn't even think about when I put this shirt on that I was doing, this episode today, but it actually goes very well together. So back when I took a break from podcasting, I also took a break from social media. And I think for me, I was just wanting to challenge myself to see if I could do it. I also vlogged a video about it, so I will connect that in the description, that link, so you can go over and watch it if you're interested. But really, it was just a challenge for myself to see if I could really do it, and then overall to see just how it made me feel during that time. And I think my feelings around the break, I was just curious and excited, but I think when I started day 1 and day 2, I had FOMO come up, that fear of missing out. What am I not seeing on social media? What am I not, coming along with? What am I missing out on? What are people posting? And it's funny too, because the most of the people that I really connect with on there, I had kind of put on my stories, hey guys, I'm taking a break. If you want to know where I'm going to be at for the next week, this is why. And I had a few of, my close friends that I have on Instagram reach out to me and say, good for you. I'll see you when you get back. And the actual only 2 people at the time that really noticed was my aunt and my grandma. Because you know how you can connect your stories to Facebook? Well, every day they would watch my stories, and when I stopped posting, they contacted my mom and was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Where is she? Did she discontinue her accounts or deactivate them? What is happening? And my mom called me, and I just told her I'm taking a step back, working on myself. And she updated them, but it was just so funny to me to also, during that time, it allowed me to see what my other hobbies were. It allowed me to connect with myself. It allowed me also to really focus on my mental health. And it also allowed me to realize what social media was doing to my mental health. The sides of fear of missing out, the FOMO, and the comparison, and just the mindset I was in when I would scroll through things mindlessly. And I also tracked how often I reached for my phone, and the crazy amount of times I can tell you that without even thinking about it, I would grab and pick up my phone and just tap on the app. And the moment I would do that, I would realize what I was doing, and I would automatically just get out of the app and turn it off. And I think there was one time I actually opened it and scrolled, and I caught myself doing it, and I was like, wow, that's insane. And in the beginning, the first probably day 1, day 2, day 3 was the hardest, not to pick up the phone or to really notice how automatic that motion is. And by the end of the week, it was a lot easier to not even think about my phone or think about picking it up. And again, it was just so amazing about thinking mindlessly how many times you're going to grab it and not even think about it. And I really have to say, for my mental health, it did really good, because it again allowed me to reconnect back with myself. It allowed me to figure out what other things and interests I had. And I think it's because we spend so much time scrolling mindlessly, and even in the moments when you're looking at something, you might not have that initial reaction to it, but I think over time it could sink into your mind and then eventually come up as comparing yourself to others, or feeling a certain way later on about what you saw. And for me, I just felt really connected to myself. I journaled during that time every day about my feelings around how I was feeling, and really just like got to dive in to who I am and what I want to do and who I want to be. And really, I just felt a lot clearer. Like my mind didn't feel so cluttered. I was able to focus on other things without, I think, being distracted. And I even noticed that after that week, when I went to go back on the apps, I found myself being very uninterested in scrolling, like not very interested in what people were posting or stories. And I think it also allowed me to realize how I wanted to use it versus it using me. Like, I think that I realized, like, how do I want to show up on social media? How do I want to show up on Facebook, on my Instagram, on my stories? Like, what is this doing for me versus, how is this using me for others? Or, how is, my time spent? Is it spent, creating content, or is it, spent just scrolling mindlessly? And I think it was just one of those things where, like, taking that step back, being so uninterested, and then trying to figure out going forward, if I'm going to allow myself to be on these apps, what is the purpose of it? Am I creating content for other people to help other people, or am I just using it as a way to, not do other things that I should be doing in my life? Or, is it a way to procrastinate? It was just one of those things. And something else I noticed is that I was feeling more creative once I stopped consuming. Like, my creative juices were coming, and I was coming up with ideas for like posts or, shorts and reels and vlog ideas and podcast ideas. And the amount of like creativity that I had was just amazing, because I think my mind wasn't so cluttered with everything that I was consuming. It was like a point where I was so clear-headed, and I didn't have that to interrupt me, that creativity was able to flow once again. And I realized that even now that I'm kind of slowly getting back into social media, that if I consume too much, I feel very uncreative. I feel just like creatively blocked. And I know that, like, if I take a step back and I don't focus on that as much, the creativity starts to come back again, and that, joy of creating comes back again. Because I think when you're consuming so much of like the same stuff and you want to create something like that, you get in your mind that you can't create that because so many other people are doing it. But I think when you take that step back, it allows you to say, okay, how can I do it in my own way and share my experiences that could help other people? And I also just started feeling more like myself over that time. And I also, like, because I was so uninterested when I finally came back to it, I also saw that I wasn't spending that much time. Like, when I first got back to it, I only allowed myself like so many hours in a day. And then it's really cool because on Instagram you can set like a timer that says like 1 hour, 30 minutes, I think a certain amount of time you can put to say, okay, if I'm on this app, after you're on the app for that amount of time, it'll pop up and say, hey, you've now been on this app for this amount of time that you schedule for yourself. And after that amount of time, I would just shut it off. But again, I felt like myself. I felt more creative. Mentally, I felt like in my headspace, I was more clear. I was connecting back with myself, my feelings, my thoughts, everything that I feel like might have been distracted or clogged from consuming so much of social media. And like I said, I started journaling again, and it made me feel so good because I used to journal all the time, and then I stopped journaling when life got really busy. And journaling during that time and my feelings around being off social media and then continuously journaling was actually really good for my mental health, because it was, as journaling for me is a way to talk about how I'm feeling and get my emotions out and figure out why those emotions are coming up and why I feel the way I feel, and just kind of going through my day about like just everything that's happening. And it just was amazing to be able to again reconnect back with myself on that level of saying, okay, this is who I am, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's making me feel that way. And it was just so freeing, and it was like a weight lifted off my chest just to be able to get it out and to be able to figure it out for myself and explain it to myself, and to slowly start to move forward. And I would encourage anyone to do this for their mental health. I think that with social media, it is just a consumer, platform. You're always consuming everything everybody else is putting out there. And even when you allow yourself to take that step back, it just allows you to reconnect with yourself and to really focus on you and what you need and what you need for your mental health. And I really encourage you that if you're at a point where you're, not in a good place mentally, consuming social media is not going to help you, because again, you have the comparison to other people and maybe where they're at on their journeys or how far they are on Instagram with their followers and what they're creating, and that can like make you feel a certain way about yourself when you're not where other people are. So for me, I've always after taking that break, I've always encouraged myself to either take a full day off, take a few days off, take up to a week break from social media, because during that time it allows me to reconnect back with myself. It allows me to have a clear mind. And I think for anybody who's struggling really hard with social media and how they see themselves, this is a way for you to do something for you and to stop comparing yourself to other people or trying to figure out how to be like those other people that you feel like are so much more along in their life than you are. And I also think too, people getting married, people having kids, and you comparing again yourself to where you are. I'm not married and I'm not having kids and I don't have this perfect job and my life seems to be in ruins and all these people are traveling and doing all these fun things. And it's just it clogs your mind. And when your mind is clogged, your mental health worsens because you're not focusing on really what you need. You're focusing on the areas in life that really aren't for you, or it doesn't allow you to really connect to yourself. Do it for you. Do this for you, because it's going to be important for you to understand what you need more than consuming what other people are saying is useful for you or what you need in life. You need to figure out what you need and then be able to consume whatever else other people are saying. So let's talk about the benefits you can have from taking a break from social media. You get better sleep. The fear of missing out drives nighttime use, causing your sleep to be disturbed, and it can be difficult for you to sleep because when you're so scared you're going to miss out on something, you will spend hours in bed just scrolling mindlessly. And even for adolescents, when you limit their internet access before bed, this prevents them from having problems falling asleep. So if you have a kid that is connected to social media, after a certain time at night leading up to bedtime, you take the phone away, you take the devices away, and you say, we're not consuming anymore. It's bedtime. You read them a book, or they watch a movie, or whatever works for you. Have a nighttime routine for them. So it's easier for them to fall asleep and sleep soundly through the night. Because heavy use equals hard amount of times to get off of social media. Less use makes it easier. Because what you want to do is reduce your stress levels. When you're consuming too much of social media, it can stress you out. So abstaining from the social media use for about a week reduces stress in both typical and excessive social media users. So I also noticed that too, is that my stress levels weren't as high. I wasn't as anxious. My depression wasn't coming up as much. And I think that's because you are consuming so much, you're comparing yourself to so much that it can stress you out. Again, to see where other people are, to see what people are doing, to see that people are traveling, to see that people, having babies or getting married, and you're just not there in life. And that step back allows you to, really focus on you and what you need and what's going to work for you in your life, rather than trying to live through somebody else's life through what they're posting. Another benefit from taking a break from social media, it prevents depression, anxiety, and psychological distress. Limiting social media use to about 30 minutes a day significantly decreases the feeling of loneliness and depression. And it can boost mental well-being. 1 week of being off social media significantly increases in mental well-being and social connectedness after the periods of absence. This also allows you to connect to people in real life. How many times have you gone out to eat with somebody, been to a party, been with family, and all you're doing is looking at your phone? You're not even connecting with the people around you. That was something else that I noticed when I took that break, is we went in, I think, for Father's Day, and we were spending time with Ken's family and my family, and for the first time I realized and looked around at the people around me of how many times they looked at their phone, how long they were, looking at it, how many times they picked it up. The less conversation that was going on because everybody was on their phone. And when you put the phone down, you're able to connect with the people in front of you. You're able to have those meaningful conversations. You're able to connect on a level that you can't connect with if you're always on your cell phone and looking down. Even when you go out to eat with people, when you're with somebody, you want to be able to talk to them and connect with them and share feelings and thoughts and concerns, and you don't get that level of connection with somebody if you're always looking at your phone. It also eases anxiety. Stepping away from social media may help reduce FOMO, inducing anxiety and loneliness, because again, you're consuming so much, and it can ease the anxiety of feeling like you don't have something somebody else has. So let's talk about the signs that a person that, should take a break from social media are exhibiting. Getting frustrated, annoyed with people's posts, comments, or trending topics on social media. Comparison is going to happen, so when it happens too much, take a step back from social media. Checking your social media the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning. If you're reaching for your phone in the morning and that's the first thing you are trying to consume, it's time to take a step back from social media and figure out a different plan, because the first thing in the morning you shouldn't be doing is reaching for your phone. You're on your social media around others. Again, you're not connecting with your friends, your families, the people around you if you're on your phone while they're around. So put the phone down and connect with the people in front of you. There's times to be on your phone and there's times not to be on your phone. Getting into arguments on social media, when you're just commenting and getting into fights on social media with other people, it's a time to take a step back from social media and figure out why other people's comments and concerns are triggering to you. Feeling overwhelmed by other people's posts, feeling disappointed for not receiving any engagement. That's when you post something on your story or post something on your reels or post something on your feed. When you don't get that engagement that you see other people getting, it can make you feel a certain way. Losing focus and missing deadlines or neglecting chores. Again, when you sit down and you start scrolling, you can start scrolling mindlessly, and without even realizing it, 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours to many hours have passed, and now you're neglecting doing whatever else you're supposed to be doing for that day or for yourself. And when that starts to happen, that's another thing to say, okay, I need to start limiting that time that I allow myself to get on social media, and really, I need to take that step back to figure out what I actually need to do for myself. And maybe it's the thing to say, okay, why am I on social media? Why am I mindlessly scrolling? What does this mean? What am I trying to avoid? What is the situation? What am I procrastinating? Why am I not wanting to do the things that I want to do. And again, that's another way for you to reconnect back to yourself. Oh, and the last thing, that is a sign for you is feeling tempted to compete with others. Again, if you're creating a podcast, if you're creating some type of certain content, the competition can come in when you see other people posting that type of content, and then you feel like you have to compete with them to keep up with them. And that's just another sign to say, okay, I should be able to create what I love to create and what's meaningful for me. And when I share that, you're hoping that it will connect with other people, but when it starts to become a competition of how can I take what somebody else does and do it better, that's a sign to take a step back. So if you yourself are exhibiting any of these signs, or you see somebody that you love, a friend, someone in your life that you can see is maybe going through any of these, maybe it's even a step for you to maybe recommend it to them. Say, hey, I see that you're struggling. Maybe it's, take a step back from social media and figure out what you need to do for yourself and connect with yourself, and then slowly get back into it when you feel like you're able. So, tips for taking a break from social media is creating goals for yourself. Get off the app, or if you want to create goals for the app, like creating goals like I'm only going to get on for 30 minutes or an hour a day, or I'm only going to get on if I have something to post, or I'm only going to get on when, I have time or I have a little break. Setting goals for yourself is going to be really good, or even setting the goal of being off for one day and then seeing how you feel and going further with that, and then maybe eventually going to a week. Like for me, I just automatically said I'm taking a week off. I took a week off and just rolled with it. And maybe that doesn't work for everybody, so start off slowly and then increase it over time just to see how you feel. Something else you can do to prevent yourself from going on the apps is delete the apps. So then there is no way for you to press on that little icon to have it pop up. Now you can delete them and then upload them again and get back on. But again, deleting the app prevents you from going on it and spending hours on it. Inform your friends and family that you're doing it. Say, hey, I'm taking a step back. If you don't see me post anything, or don't see me on my stories, or if you message me on there and I don't get back to you, this is why. Here's my phone number. You can text or call me to get a hold of me. You can just find other ways to keep in touch with people. That's something else. Like if you are friends with people on Instagram and you're taking a break and you still want to keep in touch with them, again, give them your phone number. Say, this is how you can reach me during this time, and when I get back on, I will let you know. Decide on the length of time. Again, for me, I just did a week. If that doesn't work for you, start with 30 minutes a day, then go to an hour a day, then increase the time of how long you're going to be off of it, and then eventually you could go up for a week. And the more you allow yourself to do that, I think the easier it's going to be for you not to keep going on, not to keep doing it mindlessly. It keeps you from scrolling. And again, really just helps you connect to yourself. Temporarily disable your accounts. You can go on and, I don't know, on Instagram, I think you can do it on Instagram. You can not delete your account, but you can just disable it, so then nobody sees you and you don't see anybody else's. And again, this could help. If you go to click it, nothing's going to pop up for you to see because there's nothing there. And look for activities or tasks to replace the social media use. I think we're just so reliant on consuming social media that we sometimes forget to figure out what we enjoy, those hobbies and those things that we just really enjoy to do for ourselves. And we forget that there is a whole other world out there besides social media and consuming social media. I mean, even for me, I'm someone who likes, I'm a content creator. I like to create videos, and I like to create podcasts, and I like to create things for Instagram and Facebook. But, having that time for myself every month where I take a step back from social media has just been so great. And the creativity flows and it just clears my mind and it just makes me feel so connected to myself, and my mental health is better because the fear of missing out isn't there, the comparison isn't there, and it's just it's so good. And again, if you're struggling with your mental health, really take that step back and figure out what you need to do for yourself moving forward so you can, even consume social media in a healthier way, because I think there is definitely an unhealthy way to consume social media, and there's healthier ways to do it. So before I leave you, I want you to try this. Sometimes we can get so caught up on our screens that we forget to pay attention to the people right in front of us. So today, challenge yourself to put your phone away and not pull it out during your next conversation with a friend. This is something that I think is, again, going to be challenging for us, because when we are with people, and I see it all the time when I go out, we are looking at our phones. So put the phone down today and, connect with that person that's in front of you. If it's a family member, a friend, a coworker, whoever it is, connect with them on a personal level today. Get to really know each other, because that's the connection we need. I think we need this connection from social media that we will never get, like you can get that connection with somebody face to face. I think we also are striving for that connection from social media, and you're not going to get that. You're going to get that with the person that's in front of you, that you can actually have a conversation with, that you can see their facial reactions and just everything that's in front of you. So the next time you go out to lunch with somebody or are talking to somebody, like, put down your phone and really connect with that person. Or maybe set up a date, a dinner date, a lunch date, a breakfast date with somebody that you haven't connected with recently, and go out with them and say, okay, I'm challenging myself not to pick up my phone, and I'd like you to do that same, so we can just chat and catch up and really connect on that level that I feel like we maybe haven't connected on before. And you might be surprised at how that may feel. I also maybe challenge yourself to take that step back from social media. Try again 30 minutes a day off social media, and then an hour a day, and then maybe one day out of the month or one day out of the week, whatever's going to work for you, and just really see how that makes you feel. And I want you to remember this: distraction can be a healthy coping mechanism when you really need it. So when you're really going through something hard, social media and scrolling can be, a good, healthy mechanism. But it's when you really need to focus on yourself that it can be an unhealthy coping mechanism. So I think another thing maybe to remember is, to maybe find out when you're distracting yourself in a healthy way and when you're distracting yourself in an unhealthy way. And again, why are you distracting yourself, and what is the reason behind that? So with that, thanks for letting me chat with you guys today, and I will talk to you guys real soon in the next episode.